Hi guys, this time I'm reviewing comic books that I read, and I read a few of them, or I count them as an actual whole book. Yay! So the comic books I read were Thor and Ms. Marvel. These are actually my first comic books. Is that weird? So I read some comic books when I was little, but not like the superhero ones with like serial things, like read like The Simpsons and they'd be like one-off things, but yay, female superheroes. So, I wasn't really a superhero person growing up. Like, I love sci-fi and fantasy, witches and magic and aliens and all that stuff is cool. But superheroes were a thing that I would watch movies for. And sometimes I like it, sometimes I wouldn't like it. And when I was little, I really liked Batman. So there were the 4 Batman movies with, like, George Clooney and stuff. You know, Batman, Batman Returns, Batman and Robin, Batman Forever, I think. And then also grew up watching The New Adventures of Lois and Clark. So I grew up watching the DC comic characters, but I didn't even read those comic books. And then they made the Marvel movies, and I love those. I love those more than I thought I would. My sister was watching Iron Man, and it was kind of like Batman, kind of like that, and then I kept watching the Avengers, and I love the Avengers. I love Loki most of all, but I love Thor also. So, when I heard that Thor was going to be a woman, I was interested. But I kind of put it off, and I was like, it's cool. And then I got him out of the library. Because free is awesome. And I got the first 4 of them out of the library. And then I had to go online and get the other 2 that came out, and the annual online. So, I think I'm up to date right now. And I also got the Ms. Marvel ones out, and this is, I guess, a reboot of Ms. Marvel. So there was a Ms. Marvel before, who's now Captain Marvel, and seriously, these are my introductions to the comic books. I don't really know. Okay, so I'm going to try to do an overview of both of these, and then go into spoily parts to talk about character development. These stories that focus on what it means to be a female superhero, I think they both struggle with it a bit. Thor is a woman, but she's taking over from a male Thor, and everybody's like, you're not Thor, Thor's a guy. So having to deal with all that. Also, she's Asgardian, so the Asgardians, not quite as gender neutral as we are on Earth. And Ms. Marvel, she comes from a Muslim family. And she's also only 16, so she's still trying to figure out who she is, period. And now all of a sudden she has superpowers, so I love them both. I love the way that they struggle with that. So we have Kamala Khan in these ones, and she is Muslim, Pakistani, American, like her parents are immigrants. I think she's 2nd generation. So it was interesting to read her story also, just because I didn't know, we studied the Muslim religion in school, but to actually see people who practice it and what that family dynamic is, because it's not something that is portrayed much in the media, which is a shame because it's really cool. So I love watching her family and her brother and her parents and her best friend and how the dating rules apply. I love the giant dog. The dog is awesome. It's like I have a pet, but he's gonna be as big as a room, and he can teleport. And he has this weird thingy on his head. Actually, I don't think the thing is that weird. You're just liking the giant dog. Okay. So, Thor. Part of the series is them trying to figure out who Thor is. When I heard that Thor was going to be a woman, I thought Thor was literally going to become a woman, like Thor, hammer, curve, magic, something. Oh my goodness, I'm a woman and I... That's a bad woman voice, but kind of like the Master's now a woman in Doctor Who. It was a guy before, but now it's a woman. But this isn't. This is some other person, and has just picked up Thor's hammer, and now she's Thor. Except there's other Thor running around. There's other Thor running around still. There's both of them. And I like that story, but it's still kind of... It wasn't what I was expecting when it picked these up. So a lot of the story focuses on how everybody else reacts to her, but also we get to see her thought bubbles and what she's thinking, and yes. I'm doing such a great job today. I like the fact that she's not Thor, though. Like, she's not the guy Thor. Like, she has her own way of doing things and her own personality, and she can use the hammer, and she's trying to do what she thinks the other Thor would do. Like, she's trying to be worthy of the hammer, whose name I cannot pronounce. And so I enjoy watching that and watch her kind of struggle with it, but, like, think about it, because she's still trying to be worthy of the name of Thor. She isn't just gonna, and she doesn't just pick a new name, and she doesn't want to be called Lady Thor, or whatever. There are all kinds of names they try to give her, and she's like, no, I'm just Thor, Goddess of Thunder. That's the only differentiation between the two. There's Thor, the God of Thunder, Odin's son, and then there's this Thor, the Goddess of Thunder. No, Odin's son. It's not really Odin's son. And trying to guess who she is. And I don't know the universe well enough to, like, guess. It's not, well, I don't want to spoil it for you guys, so as they keep eliminating people, I'm like, oh, well, that's everybody I know. Unless it's Loki. I hope it's not Loki. That would be disappointing. You'd be like, what do you mean it's been a guy the whole time? So, Thor. So, the Miss Marvel comics, I like watching her. So, she's a teenager and trying to deal with teenage stuff like boys and school and balancing her friends and all that. But she's also trying to balance being Muslim in New Jersey and, yeah, Jersey City. Being Muslim in Jersey City and a public school where everybody else doesn't have the same rules she has to go through. Like, she has a 9 p.m. curfew and she can't go to parties with boys. She's not allowed to date, and then there's the dietary things, and so she's got it hard enough, and then she finds out she has superpowers. I also like the fact that Camilla is really nerdy and geeky, and while I'm not quite as nerdy and geeky as she is with the video games and the writing fan fiction and stuff, I love the way that she fangirls over meeting all these other superheroes and finding out that she is one, and it's awesome. If there's one thing I don't like about the Marvel comics, it's that at the beginning she was emulating the previous Miss Marvel, which meant a really skimpy costume. I'm like, but that's, you don't have to, I mean, you can be a superhero and not show tons and tons of skin, and she does eventually figure it out and come up with her own costume and her own style, but at the beginning I was, like, cringing. I'm like, don't be somebody else. You're perfectly fine who you are, just be you. And I'm glad that she figures it out later, because if this was a whole, I don't know if I would have read 13 comics where I'm cringing the whole time. In the Thor comics, I didn't really like, I mean, there is a scene in here which is gonna be spoilery, so if you haven't read through comic 6, sorry, you might not want to watch. But there's a scene where one of the villains is a girl, and she just was like, alright, girl power, woo, and just lets her take her in, like, surrenders just because Thor's a girl, and I'm kind of like, I'm not sure I'm okay with that. Like, just because she's a girl doesn't mean that she can't fight. Like, it felt weird. Like, just let her fight. So, yes. The Thor Annual I also read, and I liked watching. I didn't know that there were, like, there's a future Thor at the end of Time's Thor who's, like, king. He becomes Odin's son by the end of time, and he has, like, granddaughters, and I didn't know that existed, so, like, seeing that was like, oh, cool. And also seeing Thor from the Vikings time Thor, like, when he was still young and trying to prove himself Thor, and watching him be so childish, and seeing Loki and stuff. So that, it was weird, because I wasn't, like, I knew, I read the comic, the description, it was like 3 Thors, and I'm like, okay. But then to actually read them was fun. Yeah, it was fun. It took me off guard, but it was fun. I liked going into these comics not really knowing what was going on. They're both good starting places. I mean, start with Thor 1 and start with Miss Marvel 1. But going into these universes not needing to know much about the others. The Miss Marvel comics make a lot more reference to other parts of the universe. So there's Wolverine, and she talks about, I think, Spider-Man in a dream, and Iron Man and stuff. So, like, they appear, but you don't need to know a lot about them. I didn't know anything about Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, so it was fine. And the Thor ones, it's just Asgardian. Yeah, just Asgard. So if you don't know a lot about Asgard, so I've watched the Thor movies and the Avengers. So I know about Asgard, but that's pretty much all I know about Asgard is that and the actual Norse mythology. So to read these, I kind of relied on that, and I'm not sure whether or not you could go into these not... I mean, you could probably go into these not knowing that and figure it out, but watching the movies helped. I still can't pronounce the hammer's name, but yes. So, there's my book review, guys. Let me know what you think. Did you read these? Do they sound interesting? And obviously I need to go read comic books with guys in them also, just to be fair, but as my starting off place for only reading 2 sets of comics, I think that was a pretty good place to start. So, yeah. Let me know what you think in the comments.